I have two discs here. I have a black one and a white one. Here's black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, like that. If I spin this, they should go gray.
Steve, it's a cult. You're being brainwashed. I knew I wasn't brainwashed because I'm smart. I'm educated. I'm from a good family. I didn't feel brainwashed.
No, we function in this world by thinking and then deciding. And in between the decision and the thought, there's a weighing out process where we decide what for us, or what seems to be good, or what seems to be bad. It's a critical part of how we live our lives. And this video is about trying to sort out that it's not that easy to think clearly. There are a lot of forces, especially in the current environment. And when I say current environment, I mean media-driven, lots of screens. You know, I mean, there's a screen at the gas pump telling me to either buy something or have a certain political opinion at the gas pump. So screens have dominated, you know, where our minds go. Screens, the screen reality is leading us into, you know, through the kinds of lives we have. And there are many, many people who have whole careers based on screen reality, meaning they appear on the screen to guide us one way or another. The simplest technique of doing that is like this. Yes, I approve. Or, no, I wouldn't do that if I were you. You know, there are these two basic parental postures that say, I approve of where you're going. And Facebook is all over. You know, the thumbs down or the thumbs up, you know, that was used by the Caesars or the Nero or whomever, the Roman emperors, to issue the death sentence to people. And and it's used commonly in Facebook. So it's no wonder people get upset about getting likes or dislikes, because, you know, the thumbs down, you know, at one point in our history, or Indo-European history, was the death sentence. So this video is about trying to just sort out some of that in a thought experiment. And that's what's going forward. We don't know, really, a lot of the time, we don't know how we have arrived at a certain conclusion. It's not just the media that give us these thumbs up, thumbs down, approvals and disapprovals. It could be family members. You know, I mean, now we're in a position where, you know, let's say if you have children, you want your children to approve of you. So they can, you know, the children can give their parents a thumbs up or a thumbs down. The messages leave residual traces in our mind. So that if at any point I got an approval or a disapproval from someone that I considered authoritative or important, could be authoritative, could be important, that leaves a trace in my psyche that then guides me to make decisions one way or another. And I think that if any individual went back and back and back in time and tried to see why they like anything from roast beef to a certain kind of shoes to political candidates to apathy about politics, what led you to these decisions? What led you to these places? I'm going to try something here. I say white, black, 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 white, black. I would ask you to, what did you feel? Did you feel anything about that? Is there any sensations doing that? And a lot of the things that we're making decisions about are critical habit. They're habit forming, and some of them become it or are habits that really shape our lives in relentless ways. Relentless, like like a river flowing down a canyon. The habits and opinions we have, especially unexamined habits and opinions, well, examined or not, they carve through the solid rock of how we're built, and they move us in certain ways. And these opinions and habits that we create based on maybe an unexamined source.
I volunteered at the Aladdin Hospital with 12 other women who wanted to help as well. I was the youngest volunteer. The other women were from 20 to 30 years old. While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. And left the children to die on the cold floor.
Babies pulled from incubators and scattered like firewood across the floor.
And they had kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so that Kuwait could be systematically dismantled.
In January 1991, the Gulf War resolution passed, the Gulf War began, and military intervention resulted, at least in part due to that dramatic testimony by the young Kuwaiti girl, who was later revealed to be the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States. Her name was Naira, and she delivered that testimony, which had been written by Hill and Knowlton, a PR agency that had been hired by the Kuwaiti government to present that scripted testimony to the public.
And so we're very impressionable that way with these sources. The sources, if they're important or authoritative to us, they leave a deep, you could call it a formation, an influence, or a scar, or an obstacle, however you look at it. So that's what this video is, an experiment in those things. It goes through some political figures, and let's see what we get. We know this guy, this is Joe Biden, and this is, I would say, the current narrative about him. The face represents media spin. You can see this is just a human being. It's all he is. And media spin presents him falling upstairs and all these other things. Here. Clueless. Half dead. But he's just a person. There he is. Just get a load. He's just a person. And this is what the media spins. I'm going to go through all the candidates, or not all of them, but several people this way. This is another narrative. Oh, something terrible.
I marched in the civil rights movement. I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
But he never actually marched in the civil rights movement at all. Ultimately, it was accusations of plagiarism in his speeches.
I did not know that was a Robert Kennedy quote. My mistake.
That forced him to drop out of the race.
I made some mistakes.
After that, Biden stayed in the Senate, ran again in the 2008 race, became the vice presidential nominee and then the vice president, laid low for a little while, and now we're here.
If I'm going to be able to beat Donald Trump in 2020, it's going to happen here.
And certain things, including a handful of Biden's vulnerabilities, haven't changed.
So I'm using those figures and I'm attaching labels. So I'm asking that when you see the photograph, or I show you the photograph, and however it is I present it, just receive the picture, the image of this person. Realize it's just a person and settle in that I have prejudices about this person, this face, this body, this smile or lack of, or whatever it is, influences me a certain way. There's a judgment that comes out of me that, well, this is a sincere smile, this is an insincere smile, this is stilted, whatever I have opinions. And I might not really have any opinion, but just whatever you register with the photograph, register. And then when I throw up the label or the glyph, just register that feeling and see if they relate to one another. See how they interconnect, or if they do. Because the point of the experiment is to demonstrate, I found it to be true after I did it, how just a smile, a nod, a frown, a word of disapproval, a suggestion that you either lack intelligence or have intelligence for thinking or feeling this way or that way, that these at the very least leave subtle residuals that can build up, especially if we have a certain source that we go to and they reinforce and reinforce and reinforce. This is why I'm doing this in a repetitive way. I'm trying to mock or recreate a model that shows the repetitive nature of image, judgment, image, judgment, image, label, like that, so that we end up our minds are crafted, our ideas are crafted, our opinions and our feelings are crafted in a certain way. It's another figure, Donald Trump. And again, when he got in, this is the feeling. That was the narrative. Now, is there any difference in feeling Is there any difference in feeling when you do this? I wonder what happens when I spin. Again, how about words? This is media spin. Is it neutral? Does it leave a residual feeling?
But by playing the role of an unpredictable bully with the Midas touch, Trump showed he couldn't easily be ignored.
I believe that perhaps I'm portrayed differently than I actually am. I believe I'm portrayed in a rougher sense than the actual product. And I hope that's true, because I hope the actual product is a lot more mellow than the portrayal.
And that may be his biggest asset of all. When people attack Trump, they reinforce the version of Trump that Trump wants people to see.
Here's a Democratic hopeful, Robert Kennedy. He's just a human. He's just a man. We know some things about him. The Kennedy name, the legacy, the history that goes with it. I'd say he's getting some of this in the mainstream press. I could have put an anti-vax on there, just anti-vaxxer, I could have said. Or even some glyph that shows danger. Do you have any feeling when you see this? Does it change how you feel about the photograph of the person? Does it affect how you feel about the photograph? Is there any difference?
And that, to me, is kind of the struggle. And when I do that, I feel God's power coming through me, and that I can do things. I'm much more effective as a human being. That gnawing, anxiety that I lived with for so many years, and my God, it's gone, and that I can kind of like put down the oars and hoist the sail, and and the wind takes me, and I can see the evidence of it in my life. And the big thing for the temptation for me is that when all these good things start happening in my life and the cash and prizes start flowing in, how do I maintain that posture of surrender? How do I stay surrendered then when my inclination is to say to God, thanks God, I got it from here.
Yeah.
And drive the car off the cliff again.
Here are three familiar faces and these glyphs that go with them. The glyphs are arbitrary. I just put them there. We know who these faces are. There's no reason to really talk about them. My point here is that I want you to, all of us, to go through a journey or an exploration of our feelings related to these images. Let's start with Joe Biden. Now, if I combine Joe Biden with a familiar narrative, which is that he's clueless, how do I feel about the photograph? If you look at Joe Biden, look into his face, and see the glyph. Does it register a feeling? Does it matter? What if I put this face? Does it change my feeling about the face? Does it change what I think about that photograph of Joe Biden? How about that? Does that change how I feel about Joe Biden? Just look at the face and look at the glyph. Does it change my feelings about the face? Are they independent? Obviously, they're not independent now. What if I use words and say good? Or maybe bad. Does it change my feelings or thoughts about the face? How about a recent candidate, Democratic hopeful? He's a Kennedy, so he's good. Wait, he's an anti-vaxxer, so he's bad. Or maybe it's just nameless. We don't know. These are some of the reactions that the media brings to us. The media offers us these things. Maybe there's just disapproval. The parental face. No, I don't approve. I don't approve. Or I do approve. Happy face. But does it change Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? And how does he have to deal with these glyphs that are given to him? These faces. And of course, the ubiquitous, the Donald. Well, you know, we have Orange Man bad. And then we have Orange Man good. What does this image do to you or for you? Do you look towards one word or the other? Does it matter? Is it independent? I don't know. I think it makes an impact myself. Does that make the face look more friendly or less friendly? What about that image, that disapproval? Does any of it change the way Donald Trump acts or who he is? Does it change my feeling about what's happening? What about simplifying it? Is that true? Maybe this is true. Maybe that's true. Or how about this? Wait. No, it's like this. Now wait, which is which? No, it's like this. Or what if we do this? There. Or wait, maybe this way. That doesn't make any sense. Huh. Anyway, that's some thoughts on that. Are we as good as we think we are about determining and judging really good from bad, light from dark, or anything else? I would say that we are not. You just think about the nature of the mind. It's hardwired to receive certain things. It's culturally wired, and it's also hardwired to receive certain inputs. Like it definitely is going to see red in a different way than green. And when the two are combined, they make gray. Red and green together form gray. Specifically, at the moment, we have a Donald Trump in a certain situation with indictments and things like that. We have a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. coming out running for the Democratic presidency and getting no airtime from the mainstream media. They're doing the best they can to keep him out of bounds, just so that he doesn't count. And yet, on the other hand, we have a Joe Biden who has he has certain perceptual difficulties that are even played up on the mainstream media. Now, we don't know that any of the facts that we're told, the facts, we don't know that any of that is true. I would definitely say that it's really not true. It's all spin. And that's what this video is about. And I'm not really sure if there's a conclusion. I'll find out at the end. Well, I hope at the very least this was an interesting exercise. And I'll probably do something like this again in the future, since I went to the trouble to make a gizmo to do this thing. I'll make it a little better. I'll fix it. I'll make it a little slicker. Thanks a lot. I hope you have a good day.